Hey guys, and welcome back to Regret Brexit Britain. Well, if you are a Muslim, there are Tory MPs who think you all look the same. I can't believe this is where we are in 2022. Seriously. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me, and a special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go through all the messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So we have to start with this sad passing of Meatloaf, right, who just passed away. I think it was on Friday. I think it was on something like 74. I actually thought he was older than that. I wouldn't have said that to him, but I actually thought he was older than that actually. I think he's been in around in music for maybe 5 or 6 decades. So that's probably the reason why. Do you know what I mean? But I'm sure. I think we can go for two of our favourite Meatloaf tracks, because even as a jungle drum and bass MC, right, I still appreciate all other types of music, even like classical, which a lot of people don't understand. You know what I mean? But even people like classical, because I actually very hardly listen to jungle drum and bass. Actually, I'm listening to other music. That's where I get my vibes from other music, which I can take onto the music I'm into. So yeah, so anyway, let's get back to Meatloaf, right? So Meatloaf, yeah. I'm sure we all have two favourite tracks from Meatloaf, right? And I'm gonna go out on a limb here, right, and say I think unless you are a proper die-hard Meatloaf fan, right, it's gonna be the same two tunes. Right, you must know which tunes they are. I will do anything for, right? And if you think I'm going to sing a Bat Out of Hell, then you've got another thing coming, right? Because that takes a lot of energy. Right? That takes so much energy to sing that particular tune. Do you know what I mean? So we say R.I.P. to Meatloaf. Do you know what I mean? Because he was like an absolute icon in his genre of music. Absolute icon, do you know what I mean? So we'll say R.I.P. to him. Died very, very young. And Thierry Mugler, right? He's a French designer, right? Now, men, right? You should know all about women's fashions, so you should know who this guy is, because men, you should know about women's fashions. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing that I'm always trying to tell men, right? That you should really know, like, what's fashionable for women at most times of the year. Do you know what I mean? Right. So when your wife says to you, "Yeah, oh, babe, that's in fashion right now. That what you're wearing, that is it. That's the look. That's it. Right. That's what you should have to do. Right. So you should know who Thierry Mugler is, really, because he's made some of the most famous dresses out there. Right, but he died. I think he's like, I'm sure he's 70 something, right? But he looks really young. I mean, he looks like he's in his late 50s. The last time I saw him, anyway, right, which wasn't that long ago, right? And not obviously when I said the last time I saw him, that was like on the TV or somewhere like that. It wasn't like I actually saw him like, as if we're friends, because we're not, right? So yeah, so he would take like up to 8-9 months, to build a dress, because this is what this man would do, right? He would build a dress, right? Yes, and some of the most famous dresses out there on some of the most famous red carpets, right, was designed by him. You know what I mean? So we have to say R.I.P. Thierry Mugler, right? And I don't know if you've heard the story of a hamster, right, that has tested positive for COVID-19 in Hong Kong. Right, so that's the first thing that they say. Ain't no vaccines for no hamsters, right? So they're just going on a hamster cull, and I think they've killed nearly 3,000 hamsters up in there. Do you know what I mean? So we want to hope that it doesn't, that hamsters over here don't start to test positive, because obviously then there's going to be a lot of children who are going to be losing their pets. Because that's the thing, when the cull comes out, do you know what I mean? That's what's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So you might have people going into hiding with putting their hamster into hiding, right? Was it hamster? No hamster hell. right? But it could be quite a dangerous thing. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously, if right, they COVID is passed on to animals, right, and then it's passed back to humans, right, then that would make it much more dangerous. Especially the COVID, it would make it much more dangerous. Do you know what I mean? To come from an animal to infect a human. Yeah, so obviously that's the reason why Hong Kong have just gone straight on this cult, because I've somewhere in the world I think they whacked off a load of minks as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think a couple of mink did test positive, so they just went on a mink colour as well. I can't remember where that was in the world, but there was somewhere in the world that happened. And we've got a gay couple over here, yeah, who have been denied the right to view a property because they're gay. This is what happens, right, when you're living in a right-to-win country, right? Because these people, yeah, they want to take the country back, yeah, back past the 1950s. That's what This is what they're trying to do, right? You have to say, well, what the fuck has it got to do with anybody else that these people is gay? It's got nothing to do with nobody else. Right? If a gay couple's living next door to you, so what? Who cares? That's what you have to say. Who the fuck cares? They're not asking you to join in with them, right? So who the fuck cares? Do you know what I mean? But this is the world, yeah. This is the world, yeah, that has been created by your people like your Nigel Farages and people like your Katie Hopkins and all those nasty, horrible people, right? That shouldn't be. Right, that should not be right on places like the radio, or do you know what I mean, or push down your TV, because when you get those people, you get a world with people like Boris Johnson and Donald Trump can come into power, right? And you see, this world now, right, is the world where if you go back like probably 12 years now. When people were saying nonsense like, well, we're not allowed to say what we want to say. Yeah, because what they want to say is, well, you know what? We don't want no fucking gay people to buy our fucking house. That's the type of stuff that they wanted to say all those years ago. Do you know what I mean? They want to say, they want to be able to say stuff. They want to be able to say derogative stuff about black people, about Asian people, about foreign people, about gay people. Do you know what I mean? This. Right, this is where they are. Do you know what I mean? You can throw Jewish people in there. They want to throw. Do you know what I mean? They want to be able to say derogative things about all these people, right? And that is the Britain that has been created, right? It was a start. It all started with David Cameron started creating this Britain here, right? As soon as David Cameron said, right, it's okay to talk about immigration, then the floodgates was open for everything. Then you could start being homophobic again, right? You could start being anti-Semitic, right? You could start being racist, right? So this world, right? This world, right? This Tory world, right, is the world. You see, and this is what even when I see gay people voting for the Tories, I just think to myself, I never get that. I don't get that, because all of these people, yeah, they're forced their way into the Tory parties. As far as the Tories are concerned, they've forced their way into the Tory party, right? And right, the Tories, they don't really like it, right? But they know, right, it makes them look as if say, oh, look at us, we are multicultural, right? We are all inclusive. That's what they want. That's what the hierarchy want people to believe. But the true Tories is full of hate. That's all it's full of. The true Tories is just full of hate, especially for the middle classes, right? The working classes and the less well off, right? For those people, right, all it is from the Tories is hate. That's all you're going to get from them. Do you know what I mean? So that's why we're in a world, right, where they think it's okay to say to a gay couple, well, I'm not ready to you. Well, you know what I say to them? Bollocks to you. Do you know what I mean? The gay couple should say, you know what, we wouldn't want to buy your fucking house, right? Even if you gave it to us for £1, we wouldn't take it off of you, you prick. That's what the gay couple should say to them, right? We've got obviously we've got our cost of living crisis going on up in here in this country, yeah. So I saw a story of like a 79-year-old woman, right, who hasn't turned on her gas for over a year, right, and she's wearing 3 layers of clothing, right, in her house, right, and you've got the Tories handing out £37 billion to their friends and their colleagues, right, telling people like this old lady, oh no, Jeremy Corbyn, he would be terrible for you. He'd be fucked up for you. Besides, right, with Boris Johnson, he's going to bring he's going to bring new train links and all these type of things, so you'll be able to get out of your house and all that. Jeremy Corbyn, he just wants to set up, he just wants to set up buses. It's old school. Buses is old school. Yeah, but the difference is, yeah, you can set up a bus route in 5 minutes. How long does it take to put in train lines and those things? How long does it to reopen train stations and all those things? How long do you think that shit takes? Right. So when Boris Johnson come in with his levelling up, oh, we're going to level up, right? All the people are going to do is just level you down, which is what they've proved to you already. This is what they've done to you already. Right? Because Boris Johnson said he's going to take train lines and all these things, right? And Jeremy Corbyn had a serious plan, yeah, because there's a lot of in Britain, yeah, there's a lot of places, yeah, where the bus links, where they haven't got any buses in that running. You might get one bus run for a week. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely obscure like that. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got a daily bus, let alone a daily bus. They might have one bus run. Do you know what I mean? Bus runs through on a Thursday or a Wednesday or a Tuesday or a Saturday night. That's when the bus runs through. Do you know what I mean? So you've got a lot of areas like that in Britain, and these people, they need better links so they can get to places, so they can get to the local town centres and these type of things. Because if you other than that, you have to have a car, right? So you have no choice other than to have a car if you live in certain places in this country, right? So Corbyn said, you know what, he's gonna look at all these places, yeah, and set up bus links and all these things there. Boris Johnson went and told a lot of these people, no, train stations, we're going to bring trains and all these things there, and to give you good links into that. Knowing that he knew that was never going to happen. As I said, you set up bus links overnight. You can set up a new bus link overnight. Because all you need is buses and a driver and stops, right? So it's not, it's much smaller infrastructure as opposed to telling people, we're going to set up trains and all these things there, and knowing that you're lying to fools. I mean, but let's say it's people like this 79-year-old woman, right, who's living, I don't know whether she voted for Boris Johnson or not. Do you know what I mean? She might have. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people still, right, who are probably going to food banks who still think it's a good idea to have a Tory government. So so we, a lot of, me, I would have looked at people before and thought, yeah, well, there's no way you're going to be a Tory, but I would never do that. I would never do something like that ever again now. Do you know what I mean? Because some of the people that I've seen voting Tories think, well, you're not a conservative. Right, you are not a conservative, but I suppose some people just like to go against the grain, and it probably makes them feel. I mean, if they vote for the Tories, it probably makes them feel, oh, well, yeah, I'm a conservative, but you're not. You're not. Do you know what I mean? Trust me, you're not. Right. And then I saw another one, right, where a woman said that she's got an indoor coat, right, and an outdoor coat, because obviously she don't want to wear the same coat indoors as she wears outdoors, because it's going to be colder outside, isn't it? So obviously she must have a much thicker coat for outside, and then she's got her indoor coat that she wears inside, isn't it? But that right is Britain in 2022 for the working classes and the less well off, right? You got to remember, right, that the middle classes, right, they'll be struggling too, right? They're going to need that £500 too. Right, don't think. Right, it's just because they're saying, oh well, you know what? It's just going to be people that are on universal credit, right, mainly, right. But that's not the case. The middle classes need it too, because they're struggling as well, right. But the middle classes, yeah, will, a lot of them actually a lot of the middle classes don't actually vote for don't actually vote for the Tories. A lot of the middle classes don't really vote for the Tories, right? It's more your upper classes for definite, because they are real Tories, but they need a major percent, right, of the working classes and the less well off to vote for the Tories as well. So by or otherwise they wouldn't be in power. I mean, if you just went on votes alone, then Labour would have been in power all the time. But the way how they've broken it up into different territories, that's why the Tories can hold power, so for so long, for the last 100 years. For I don't even know. I should have looked this up, but I don't know how much it is. I will look at on my next video. I'm going to look that up so I can make sure I give a proper number. Right. So yeah, so that's Britain in 2022. Do you know what I mean? Britain is just like, I don't know. It's just people are really struggling. Do you know what I mean? And come April, things are just going to get so much worse as well. Do you know what I mean? Because the food. I don't know if you know Jack Monroe, but she's done a thread on Twitter just showing like the different costs of food costs, like from I think probably from last year to now. If you went back to 2016, the figures would be way out different. You know what I mean? Right. So we have a major problem with President Putin. It seems. All right, I'm going to say, be a vet to all of my Russian contributors. I believe that's the way. That's the way you say it. I think, and if it's wrong, I'm sure one of you will tell me. All right, but yeah, so we have the world is well, Putin is just playing. I always try to tell people that Putin, right, is much smarter than all these other world leaders. Right, Putin's just playing on a much higher level than them. Right? Because these guys, Putin just works them because he just treats them like clowns, and it's all the time. It's just constant, all the time. Putin just treats them like clowns, right? And these guys, they fall for it every single time, right? You see, Putin, right, wants to feel relevant in the world, right? Now you've got to remember, that Russia's a massive, vast country, massive. Lot of people, right? But it's got an economy the size of California, right? Which makes Putin. When someone is property rich but cash poor, that's Putin, right? But the difference is, he does have a massive army and nuclear weapons. Which for one country has probably gone in his favour to have nuclear weapons, has really gone in his favour that he's got that, right? So Putin, right, is boxing well above his weight. Putin's boxing. Well above. Right? Putin shouldn't be, if you was talking about, you're talking about like another country like the size of Russia, right, with that size economy without nuclear weapons. Right, the West would be so much harsher on them, so much harsher. But because Putin's got his nuclear weapons, right, he knows, right, that really is his that's his secure blanket, right? And he knows, right. Obviously, he knows that the West. There's a lot of stuff that he can do, right, and the West will just have to sit back and the only thing they can do, is think about taking out sanctions against him. Right, but Putin, right, he's boxing well above his weight, right? Because these guys are running around. They're in the world now. They're running around, right? Because he's amassed all his troops at the Ukraine. Now, I don't think that he actually wants to invade Ukraine, right? Because we've got to remember that taking back all these regions in Russia, involves that involves quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? It involves a lot of work, right? Not just the military side. I mean, if Putin could take it over without firing a bullet, then he probably would, right? But he knows he can't actually do that, right? But you see, he does want, right, Ukraine to be more like Belarus. If there was more like Belarus, Putin wouldn't have 100,000 troops on their border. Right, because Putin feels that that all these countries are ganging up with the West, right, against him. That's how he feels, right. Now, I can't, none of us can tell someone how they should feel, but that's how he feels, right? Going back to places like, Romania, right? I think going as far as Sweden and Norway, I'm sure I heard talk of, right, that he doesn't want all these people to be in the EU. Obviously, Romania is already in the EU, right? But that region, he wants a lot less people to join the EU, right? But you see, as I said, because Putin, he's ex-KGB, so you always got to remember that, right? And Putin, right, has his main goal, yeah, is to destabilize the West. Because the West is too powerful. For Putin, the West is much too powerful. Because, the Americans already, I'm sure they already nearly bankrupt the Russians over the space race, right? Where the Russians tried to keep up with the Americans. I'm sure the Russians end up bankrupt over it, right? So, and I'm sure they probably wouldn't have recovered from back then, right? And and then people say, oh well, what about all there's so much Russian billionaires? Well, yeah. And if you notice, they all live in the West because none of them want to really live in Russia. The only Russian billionaires who live in Russia are the ones who probably can't leave Russia, right? Maybe have international warrants or the government won't allow them to leave Russia. But whatever the case, right? But Putin, right, is trying to destabilize the West. He's been trying to destabilize the West from day one, right? And he's done a very good job at it. He's done a fantastic job because Putin remember he helped to put Trump into power, okay? And you see the end result of that was an insurrection. And who do you think, right, has mocked America, right, openly about that? Who do you think has mocked them openly about that, right? Putin has just mocked them openly, right? And Putin, right, is the person, right, who made that possible for Donald Trump. Right, but because social media has been good to him, and he's pumped in so many social media adverts to the racists, right? Because that's who you have to target with these things. You target the racists, and you tell them, "Oh, the blacks are coming to steal your guns." Well, maybe not the blacks, but the Dems as well. They're coming to steal your guns. But these people in their mind, they're thinking, "Oh, it's the blacks coming to steal your guns." Right, they pump all these things in, and remember the social media companies, they're just money grabbers. So they'll take the millions of dollars or pounds worth of advertising wherever it comes from. They'll take it and they'll just pump the shit wherever it needs to go to, right? So that's what Putin was doing over there, right? And then you draw yourself over here where he done the same thing. He done exactly the same thing over Brexit. Right, he pumped in a load of racist stuff as well into this country via the internet. Pumped in a load of it, right? A lot of these stories. Yeah. Boris Johnson done his bit. Boris Johnson was doing his bit for years and years with all the stories in the newspapers, right? But there's a lot of people in this country who don't read newspapers. And and then there might be a lot of these people, they get into small communities, right, of people that hate others, right? And so the Russians, that's the people who the Russians target. So the destabilization of the West, right, most of it's been down to Putin. Putin, as I said, Putin's playing a much smarter game than any of these guys, right? And he's boxing well above his league, right? So all of these things, right, and if they want to allow that to happen, then that's down to them. Do you know what I mean? That's down to them. But they knew it was happening, right? Because I haven't got this information just from nowhere, right? This information's all come from the media. I haven't just got it. I haven't just plucked it out of my head from nowhere. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, right? Obviously they know all these things. They know all these things as well. Do you know what I mean? And they say it out. They do. Eventually, sometimes say it out in the open as well. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of people are not listening. And if you try now and convince a lot of the right wingers, yeah, that you was convinced by Putin. That's who convinced you. All right? They'll be like, no, this is what I've always thought. I've always thought this, right? But no, this is right. So this is what they don't understand. As I said, Putin, right, is. He's much smarter than all of these guys. Much smarter than all of them. Right? These guys are playing. They're playing children's games compared to Putin. Do you know what I mean? He sat there, yeah, with a white cat on his lap. Right, that's how. Right, with world domination, right, without having to fire a bullet, right. While all these guys are going like, yeah, we're not being run by the flipping Germans. Yeah, right. Right. Don't know if you know Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, but she was in Congress the other day, right, and she's gone. I went over to the lift, right, and there was a load of Orthodox Jews there, and the first thing she said to them was, "Are you here on reconnaissance?" But you know something? I'm sure Jewish people knew exactly what they was voting for when they're voting for the right wing. People like Boris Johnson and Donald Trump. I'm sure you know exactly what you're voting for. Right. So today we have a Muslim Tory politician, right, who's come out and said she was sacked, right, because MPs felt uncomfortable because she's Muslim. So really? What, that surprises you? Because that don't surprise me. I mean, a lot of black and Asian people, yeah, they've forced themselves onto the Tories. People who don't really like them, people who feel uncomfortable around them. That's just the truth. That's how these people feel. They feel uncomfortable around Muslims and black people, and people that speak a little bit different to them. They feel uncomfortable around Jewish people. Right? Whether they feel uncomfortable around Asian people. Uncomfortable around black people. Uncomfortable. And you say, well, who could blame them? I mean, they have got a racist gene after all. What would you expect? I mean, that racist gene is difficult to get rid of, right? And then we got up steps the most fucking ridiculous looking man to have ever been born. The Elephant Man would walk up to him and say to him, "Are you okay, mate?" Alright, you just have to think to yourself, what the hell? Has someone, yeah, put you together in the weirdest type of way possible? Like, a Dr. Frankenstein just said, you know what, I've just got some body parts here. I'm just gonna start throw them together and just see what happens. Up steps Michael motherfucking Fabricant, right, to say, well, she doesn't, she didn't, hold on, I just want to get this right, actually, what he said. She didn't look particularly like a Muslim. Say what? Why? What the fuck does a Muslim look like? I'm ready now. Now, I'm intrigued. What the hell does a Muslim look like? Mum, where my mum and dad's house is, right? We've got Muslim next door neighbours, and I don't know what a particular Muslim is supposed to look like. But I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue what a Muslim is supposed to look like, right? But you see, people like Fabricant, I don't think they realise how fucking racist they really are. The level of racism, right, that it takes to be that ignorant, right? That it just like, I don't know. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I mean, whether because my next door neighbour, yeah, who used to hang out with us all the time, right, and he just used to dress like us. Do you know what I mean? He was a Muslim. He just used to dress like us. His sisters used to dress very very westernized, unless they was going to like a wedding or something like that. But they was just dressed like normal. Do you know what I mean? Like London, like how London people dress, right? So I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, right? What he's actually trying to say. But I just found that so fucking racist. Right, that someone could actually, a Tory MP, could actually say something like that out loud and not understand and not even realise. Because today he probably hasn't even realised. Right, but that is your true Tory MPs. Do you know what I mean? That's your true Tory MPs, and that I don't know, but he might come out and say, "Oh, what didn't mean anything like that," if he's got any sense. But do you know what I mean? You think to yourself, seriously, that. But this is the right wing world. This is what the right wing world. This is what the right wing world is like. Right? It's homophobic. It's anti-Semitic. It's racist. It's misogynistic. And that is what you've got in Great Britain right now. Right. Anyway, look, I'm already 30 minutes in, so we need to speak about some Brexit. So, the UK have been accused of breaching the Brexit deal. Okay, is that when we're going to break the law in a limited and specific way? I said, well, the EU. I said, with the EU, you're pretty slow off the mark on this one, aren't you? Right? Because we've been doing that from morning. We've been doing that. Right? And now, but today, I think Liz Truss has got a proper showdown with the EU. So Liz Truss is probably going to go and say, right, you'll do what I tell you to do. Right? Old pencil neck, tin Lizzie, right, is going to go and deal with the matter. But you know, as I said, yeah, the EU, right, have just had a plan what they've stuck to, right, and they've been sticking to that plan all the way. You know, for a minute, I just thought that, because I thought I could hear my phone ringing, because we're still waiting for the German car companies to step in and say, what are you doing, man? You need to give the Brits a better deal than that. Right? But the truth is, yeah, the German car companies, right, would have no say over the EU. I mean, what say would they have over the EU? They'd have no say over the EU. Yeah, this is the problem with the people in Britain. Yeah, they feel, right, that Germany run the EU. That's what they feel. That is a level of stupidity that you can't get past again. But I mean, who feels that? Brexiters. So it would be something that's so stupid because it's Brexiters that think that, and that's the reason. That's another reason why this country decided, yeah, it was going to vote, right, to punch itself in the face, right, give itself a good kick in the bollocks, right, tie a rope round its neck, right, and then dangle itself over the Thames, right, until the rope busts, and then you fall into that dirty, mucky, stinking, dirty, I don't know what that is, but it's not water, slime, right, until you fall in there, right. And Welsh ports, right, have seen a 30% drop, right, in trade since Brexit. 30%. And you know, obviously, you know, that's massive numbers. I mean, that's massive numbers. But these people tell you, oh no, Brexit's going okay. Brexit's going well. Brexit's going a whole lot of fucking shit, and they're not telling the truth. They haven't told you they haven't showed you pictures of Dover, what Dover's like, have they? No, they haven't showed you pictures of that at all. But Dover's fucked. That's what's happening. Right? They've got a queue longer than the tunnel, longer than the channel, right? Which I think is 26 miles. The queue's longer than that to get to and you see, once that starts to branch out, then you're going to see some real problems all over London if that starts to branch down. And British citizens have been abandoned in the EU. I was reading a story about an old lady. She's and her husband. I think her husband. She must be 70 something. Her husband's 80, and she's been living in France for 15 years. They wanted to come back to Britain to live, but you know what? They put their paperwork in sometime last year in April, right? And they're still living in their children's spare room because they packed up all their stuff, right? Because they thought it was only going to take 15 days, but it's all the red tape. And something about the family, you know, the family past they can't get, so they've been stuck in the EU, stranded and abandoned by the United Kingdom, right? And you know what that's down to? That's down to all of you racist motherfuckers, right, with your racist motherfucking gene, right, that voted for Brexit, right? And this motherfuckers will teach you as a lesson, right? I hope, right, that you Brexiters enjoy your new utility bills. And I say to you, thank you so much for passing it on to me as well. Anyway, guys, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.